You know the worst thing about arriving at a hazmat scene?
Oh yeah, absolutely. The judgmental looks by everybody on scene when you get off the rig because they are blaming you for the 4 hours they're going to be on scene.
Yeah, but uncertainty is another one, like having no idea what's in the air.
Yeah, we could also go with that. That assumption, it's just a chemical. It doesn't really cut it anymore, right? Because we need answers fast and we need them now.
Right, and that's where the Explorer comes in. It's real-time chemical ID and quantification right in the field.
Which means the whole thought process yeah, it's probably something bad is out the window. This thing tells you exactly what's there and exactly how much.
So you can set up your safety zones like an adult and not a rookie guessing where to put the tape.
And you're doing it with defensible quantitative data within seconds, making decision-making a whole lot easier.
Which means you're not waiting around for an answer. You have the solid, life-saving intel in your hands.
Go check out the meter that's changing the world, the Explorer, and stop guessing. Check out 908devices.com.
And on a hazmat call, the question is never if radiation matters. It's where are you going to find this stuff?
Yes, and half the time you don't find it, it's coming out to find you first, which is why on unknowns, we always check radiation first.
Because you're not seeing it, you're not smelling it, and if you miss it, you're going to probably be in it.
Exactly, which is why so many units and teams are running the Teledyne FLIR Defense Identifinders.
That is not a one-size-fits-all tool. They got the handheld RIDs, they got the wearable personals, and even backpack systems.
So whether you're the first sucker walking into the scene or you're arriving on scene and the situation's unfolding to a bigger picture, there's some type of application and tool that fits that job.
And these aren't just theory tools. These are out there getting used every day by teams that are actually relying on radiation data to make decisions.
So go search FLIR Identifinder. That's FLIR, F-L-I-R, Identifinder.
And today's episode is brought to you by Rigaku Analytical Devices, who just launched their 4th generation handheld Raman meter, the Icon X.
For fast, safe, and accurate chemical analyzation, visit RigakuAnalytical.com. That's RigakuAnalytical.com. Hey, everybody, and welcome to another episode of the Hazmat Guys. In a very rare type of episode, Bob is out on assignment, and he's left me in studio alone, which is never a good thing. But it's okay. I'm not all alone. This week, I was out teaching at Oak Ridge at the Y12 site, and I was able to do it with a very good friend and a phenomenal instructor, Wayne Melton. And while we were there together, he was chatting with me about not just one energy storage system that went on fire in his area, but he's got 2 separate ones, I believe, in the same area. He's one of the few people I know that has 2 ESSs under his belt for fires. So I'd like to introduce you to Wayne. Wayne, why don't you let us know a little something about you, man?
Well, thanks for having me on. Our name's Wayne Melton, like Mike said, and I retired from FDNY. I was in one of the tech engines in Manhattan. I taught with Mike and Bob in the Hazmat Battalion for many years. And I also have the pleasure of running a pretty decent team in Orange County, New York, where I live, Hazmat team, that is. And this is where I go to some exciting runs, including
and you guys actually, it's interesting enough, right? We often think, hey, everybody always, oh my God, New York City for hazmat, New York City for hazmat. But, just for some background on this, Wayne lives in a county just outside the city limits. And New York City is not allowed to have a tremendous amount of dangerous chemicals ride through it. So as a result, a lot of the places that want to be associated with New York City but can't set up shop end up setting shop in the area of Wayne's team. So he ends up seeing a lot of actually really kind of cool stuff on a fairly regular basis. So it's an honor to have him on. And but today we're going to be talking about these energy storage systems. And you had 2. So I definitely on this episode want to get into the first one.
Well, the first one takes us to 2023 in the lovely town and village of Warwick, New York. It's a very beautiful small town. They're known for their Apple Fest. They have a quite mix of population. They got a little bit of industry, some medical. They tend to be a customer of ours here and there, probably a time or two a year. I believe it was in the fall. I get a call to respond to the village of Warwick on a Monday night. It was about 10:30 at night for a battery energy storage system that was on fire. Not a problem. The chief called for a hazmat rep. I was around, so I responded to the scene. I got there. I met with the incident commander, and there was, I believe, a 4-string system set up that was fenced up, kind of tucked away in the heart of the village, right behind one of the firehouses. And there was an audible fire alarm. And, we looked around. There was no smoke. There really wasn't much to it. And there happened to be a rep from the company that owns the system. And he said that he was there. He was monitoring it. It was no big deal. The fire chief said that he saw a puff of smoke, and that was it. So pretty innocuous. We hit it with the camera, everything.
I was going to say, so at this point you're on scene, you're really not seeing that much? Like what was it, what ended up like initiating the alarm if there really wasn't much puffing right now?
Well,
okay. All right, I'll let you do your thing.
Together. Let's back up a little bit. The Warwick Fire Department, they have 4 firehouses, I believe, and the main firehouse, they were concluding their drill, and one of the members was carrying his gear out to his personal vehicle. That's where he carries his gear, and he heard an audible alarm. So he's like, "Oh, that doesn't sound right." So he goes over and he, taps the chief on the shoulder and says, "Hey, chief, there's an alarm like right down the street. And the only thing behind that firehouse is the gym, the battery energy storage system, a plumbing, kind of like a warehouse type thing. And I forget the other occupancy, but it's all commercial. And it's all closed up because it's at night." So that member, the chief's like, "Hey, maybe we should go check it out." So he did. And when he got there, he thought he saw a little puff of smoke. He had some education. Paul Rogers had done some classes in Orange County and some surrounding counties. So people had their kind of awareness that if anything's going on with this, they should call hazmat. So he heads up for Chief Mike in Texas. And it took me, it's pretty far from where I live, and it's not real easy to get to. Kind of like going anywhere in Brooklyn from anywhere else in New York City. So when I get there, they said they saw a puff of smoke, and there really wasn't much to it. So, and then with the representative from the battery company there, everybody wants to go back to sleep. Nothing's going on. The thermal imaging cameras aren't showing anything. So we really didn't think much of it, and we all went home and went to bed. Fast forward the next day, the same company has another site that's in the town of Warwick that's in between the bus station, or where the buses are stored, the mechanics garage, the offices, and the rear of the high school baseball field, and then subsequently the school. So at about 8:30 in the morning, Warwick Fire Department gets hit out for a working battery energy storage fire at the other facility. Now I know I'm.
So this one night, you guys ended up almost this was kind of 2 separate incidences in one kind of 24-hour period.
Yeah, which you can kind of see that, you have one incident. It's like, all right, it happens. Somebody thought they saw smoke, but the alarm's going off. With these systems, they're monitored by the battery companies. They're not, their alarms aren't directed to a central server to where the fire department's going to get notified or anything like that. So whenever these systems are out there, the local fire department really relies a lot on the parent company of the facility to notify the authority having jurisdiction, "Hey, we got something going on." and whether they want a full response or an officer's response or whatever. So again, we didn't think much of it having the battery guy there because we didn't know where he lived. We had never dealt with him. And it was just kind of like, cool. He's there. We don't need to be there. If anything goes on, he'll call us back, kind of, one of those wrapping up the easy run and back to bed we go. Well, then the next day, and let me paint the picture of the weather for these couple days in lovely Orange County, New York. We had sideways rain. I'm not talking about torrential rain. I'm talking about it was raining so hard and the wind was gusting. We would have monsoons for 20, 30 minutes of literally sideways rain. We didn't think this was a piece of the puzzle until a few hours from, arriving at the second incident, which is the real first see flames, smoke, and everything coming off one of the systems.
And that's what you saw on arrival?
Now, I also have to paint the picture of, it was roaring. When I got there was about half a dozen police officers. The chief of police, John Rader, is a great gentleman, awesome guy. He's a volunteer fireman. He's been volunteering forever. He's a state fire instructor. But when you get something in his mind that just doesn't add up, he's a wolfhound. He wants to figure it out. So being that we were in the village 14 hours prior, and now, for a smoke but alarm, and then the same company has a system 3 miles away, and now this one's burning, we're kind of like, well, what's going on here? So that's where there was a heavy police presence. We were dealing with the weather. The fire chief was there, and I think he had one apparatus that was on scene, and he had staged everything else in the back. So I get there, and we have our little unified command huddle between Chief Mike Contaxis, Chief of Police John Rader, myself. There was a representative from the school district. There was the mechanic supervisor for the buses, and the power company rep that we had saw the night before. So we're really kind of looking around because this
Okay.
didn't seem coincidental. Now, there wasn't anything suspicious, but you just had that air about you that something really wasn't adding up.
The
here.
feeling that feeling, so, was that kind of like a somebody is messing with this on purpose type of a feeling, or was this there's some unknown factor that we're not understanding that's running through these?
For the fire department members, including myself, we didn't understand enough, but we knew something wasn't right because, I had, worked a little bit with, Lieutenant Rogers. I had attended classes in, Baltimore and other conferences, tried to read about it, get an idea of this, new technology that's out there and exactly what we were going to do if we encountered this. And it was a book that was unwritten, or at least a chapter of a book that was unwritten. So, there's a lot of education there that let it burn. And, to the normal firefighter, that's a very bitter pill to swallow. So, we're like, all right, well, they told us to let it burn. We know it's burning. Now you add in, political pressure because the mayor got involved, the town supervisor got involved, the school board chair was there, within a certain amount of time.
Let me ask you, Wayne.
So there was a lot of political pressure that was upon us
because this may seem like it's like an unimportant thing because it's like, well, that's not really part of the fire, but what you're describing is definitely something that so many fire departments are going to come across, is that political pressure. So what was the political pressure, and how did the fire department handle it?
The political pressure was kind of like not necessarily a meteor shower, but they were hitting like any and every concern, but not necessarily in order, were just being launched. And they wanted to know about the smoke, and that smoke's going to kill people. And why is it burning? And why aren't we doing anything? And how long is it going to burn? And do I need to evacuate people? And they're like, it's kind of like Mike Tyson getting ready for a fight. Like they're just throwing those questions at you, and you're like, hold on, I got one at a time. Let's start figuring about, what we have at hand as far as the burning string of batteries, because within this site, you actually have two separate sites.
Of course not.
Because nothing's easy. All right. When Murphy's having a day and he's enjoying, raining literally on my parade, we have a system like towards the rear that's old, tried and true. They're Connex style, Gen 2. So they have the explosive roofs, the accesses from the outside, and they're just running and doing their thing, and life is good. The fire is probably at least at the closest would have been 60 or 80 feet away. So exposure wise, not my problem. We're good. So then you come into this system, and it was the first system made by a company which is no longer in existence. And it was kind of like a modular approach. They said it was like Legos, that you would have the battery management system, and depending on the voltage or amperage that you would need to provide, you would just click in additional units, and you could have up to 10 units. Well, in this situation, there were 7 units or cabinets that are in the system. So it was burning pretty good. So I get past the array of police officers. I get to the chiefs, the fire chiefs that were there, and the engine was kind of staged on County Route 1A, and the members were on the rig. They were doing what they were supposed to do, and I start looking at the fire, and you had an exposure, kind of like if you're looking at the BMS or the battery management system side of this string that was on fire. The two-side exposure 6 feet away was the transformer and the inverter. So I'm like, well, that's probably not too good to lose. I bet that's worth a lot of money. And then on exposure 4 side, you had a similar. All right, so you had another 7 units in a string with the battery management system. And I'm like, and this fire's, burning pretty good. So, the first thing you think of as a firefighter is exposure protection.
Even with
our education on this stuff was
even with the sideways rain.
It was intermittent sideways rain. So, even, when I was responding in, we had some rain that come in, and I got to tell you, you get a snootful of the smoke, and it wasn't fun. Like, you knew you were, kind of reminded me of days past where you're like, oh yeah, I'm going to work. But so we have this exposure on 2 and 4 sides. So I go to the chief, and I'm like, hey, maybe we get your tower ladder in here. There's a hydrant over here. We're going to, put a couple protective curtains up there. And I get a tug on my sleeve from the battery rep. And this gentleman goes, yeah, I wouldn't do that. And I said, well, what do you mean you wouldn't do that? Like, that's a lot of money that's getting ready to burn, because we're not going to put anything on the string that is on fire. So
what's there?
Let it go. We want to, kind of protect your investment. It's your, product. And he goes, yeah, no, don't do that. So I immediately follow up with, well, what would happen if we did? And he said it would be a bigger fire. And I went, So that was a piece of the puzzle that said water had a factor in this. There was another piece of the puzzle that said the cabinet didn't keep the water out. So we're grabbing pieces here and there, and then you go back to the previous night's incident where we had episodes of sideways rain.
So that was the common thread among them, is that not just rain, but like this intense sideways rain that's able to get into areas that probably wouldn't normally rain get into if it's falling directly from the sky. Battery fires are absolutely starting to change how we think about suppression.
Yeah, because for years it was just water, 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 and then cool it, hope it chase, and hope it goes away.
That's all I want is for batteries to go away. But they're not going away, and these lithium-ion battery jobs are changing how we look at fire, because it's no longer about just putting it out. Now it starts to become, how do we control it? How do we keep it from propagating? How do we keep this thing from reigniting?
So that is where some of these newer agents actually start to make some sense.
Yeah. TRF steps onto the stage from Fire Suppression Solutions. We've been taking a look at this thing, and it's not just about does it work, it's about where does it fit into the process. So this isn't replacing anything that you do, it's giving you another tool in the toolbox in case the problem that you have isn't fixable by the traditional playbook.
Exactly. And you've got something that can just be applied early. It can help limit the spread, and it can give you another option besides just flooding it with water and waiting.
Which is great because everybody operates a little bit differently, right? So they've got different setups depending on how you operate. You need smaller portable options, they've got it. You need bulk stuff because you're dealing with a huge factory down the block, they've got that too.
So this isn't just us saying this is the answer. This is us saying the problem is changing, and this is one of the tools that might make sense in your playbook.
Yeah, we looked into it. We were really happy with it. We want you to look into it too. Go check out Fire Suppression Solutions or hit the link in the show notes to see how TRF Plus can fit into your response model.
Do you know what I love about this city?
Dirty water hot dogs.
No, don't ask me about those things. No, it's the e-scooter gangs.
Yes, because nothing screams hazmat like a moped that's about to go nuclear.
And that's where Obexi and FR saves the day.
Which is great because it's lightweight, mobile friendly. It's designed for us, the first responder, because honestly, the last thing we need while we're responding and things are heating up is extra weight.
And it's third-party tested to lower the toxic gases below the ideal H levels.
So it's protecting your lungs just that little bit, another little layer of protection while you're putting out that scooter fire.
And let's say, perchance, you need more. Obexi and FR comes by the pallet or poly drum kits.
Yeah, which is great for when your butthole puckers up because you think to yourself, oh my God, I'm going to need a lot more of this.
So protect your team and your lungs. Go to the hazmatguys.dgeo.com. That's the hazmatguys.dgeo.com.
Correct. So then we start asking questions like, now more of that, the classes you attend, the training you receive, things kind of calm down. We separated a little bit from the politicians. And now we have some questions come into mind. And now I want to talk to the power company, the battery company rep, and the parent company that owns the facility we're at. And I'm like, what was the state of charge of last night's incident? And what's the current state of charge here? Or what was your last reading? And we got, the one last night was at 20%. This one was about mid-charge. And I'm thinking, 2 more pieces to the puzzle. So then I go, so now we're like, all right, Chief, never mind. We're not going to use any water. You can send your men home. But another huge concern was, what's in the smoke? Is the smoke going to kill us? We have people sheltering in place in a half a mile. And I'm like, well, I can help you with that. So that's when we deployed our area array monitors. And we put one monitor about right outside the fence of that facility. So it was about 10, 15 feet away from the fire. And we put it in the downwind side. And then we put one further downwind, probably another 400 feet. We had another one that was upwind about 200 feet. We put another one over at the school. So like all the way through the practice fields and stuff. And we had it right by the school building. And then we set up the hazmat apparatus, was truly the only apparatus that operated for the next 4 days there. And we had our thermal imaging camera up in the air. And we had an array of instruments, including some our toxic meters. We had if we had it, we put it out there. We had HCN, we had chlorine, we had ammonia, We had CO2, but again, we had it. We just put it out there because we wanted to bombard them with whatever we had. We even strung some, some pH paper, up there just to, put another, something out there for people to see. And we did continuous air monitoring for the next 4 days, and that fire burnt for a good 2.5.
Did it ever jump to the other exposures did it ever jump to the other exposures that you were worried about, or it just kind of stayed put in the cabinets that it was in? Like over those 4 days, what ended up happening?
It propagated, their fancy term. It propagated within the original fire string. It never exposed outside of burning the paint off the cabinets. But weeks later, when they did open the cabinets, and I'm a buff, so I went and I wanted to check it out. Everything inside those cabinets that were exposures were perfectly fine. And you're talking 4-inch thick, very heavy doors. And again, in the first cabinet that burnt, it blew the two front doors and the two back doors. It blew them. One door was as close to about 10 feet, and the door was almost 30 feet away. So there was a tremendous amount of pressure in that first cabinet that went into thermal runaway. But it spread from unit one, from module one, or not module, but unit 1 to unit 2 to unit 3 to unit 4. It hopscotched. And the only thing we can attempt to get out from them was there were different amounts of fireproofing or sealant around the wires that go from cabinet to cabinet, and also, allow power to the air conditioning units. So it was a whole lot of little puzzle pieces. And then the police were
also
doing
Did they ever feel like maybe
the
fire didn't propagate because of the fire, that the different cabinets all had the same failure issues?
They kind of drew it up to that it was because of the unit that was on fire and the wires melting and the insulation that was burning, that it spread that way. We did get the root cause analysis from that one, and they cited two things: that there was insufficient fireproofing and that the cabinetry was not as waterproof as they had thought. So it was it was fascinating, and we did a lot of stuff. But the other side of the interesting part of this is day 2 of the fire, the power company and the battery company had a lawyer on scene. We didn't get any more pieces of the puzzle.
They make you sign like NDA, non-disclosure agreements while you were on scene.
There was no NDAs for us, but it was, we will screen every picture you have. You're not to send that out, and anything you see. And we're like, listen, we're firefighters here. People are going to be asking us. We're going to tell them we don't know what the cause is until the root cause analysis is actually done and published. But we all know. And they're like, well, we don't know. And, the counselors are going to do what they're going to do. And we had some pretty high-ranking people from both companies, that arrived, and they agreed to give us the world. The fire department definitely recouped some of the money, because firefighters like to eat.
Sure.
We like to eat. So, and they were taking care of the police as well. And that chief of police, he kept police presence at both sites until those batteries the cabinets were opened and they were decommissioned, and all of that got sent.
All right.
To
So,
the power
question for you,
well.
as we wrap up the last 5 minutes of the show, so you had this. What were lessons that you learned? What were things that, looking back, you felt that were done well, and what were things that, if you could do it all over again, that you would change?
things that went well was there was great communication between the police, between the fire department, and between us. We all put our heads together and decided what we were going to do, and then we moved forward. We dealt with press conferences. We dealt with, the some of the media, but more so the political people who have, their constituents, in their best interest. So that part of it, plus my boss in the county, Vinny Tancaselli, he was a buffer for me for a little bit. And I greatly appreciated that because I could focus on, tactics and getting crews to rotate in and out. So that went very well, along with the fire department not being eager to stretch the line and put water on it just simply because it's burning. So kudos to the Warwick Fire Department and the leadership and, the members
that takes a lot.
Trusted their chief and say, no, this is good. It does. So, I mean, I got to tell you, there was way more things that went right in this incident. Things that I would like to, maybe change or whatever. Well, one, I would prefer not to be soaking wet. That would be great. Yeah, that wasn't necessarily fun. But it's having those members and from the system that we came from, New York City solution to everything is just pour more bodies on it. Sooner or later, it's going to be fine. There was some times where I was pretty thin, and it gets a little lonely sometimes, me and maybe one other person that are handling the things. So, as just the nature of the beast in the volunteer world, I'm always looking for more members. I'm always looking for good people. I'll look for mediocre people that were willing to learn. It's just one of those things. So it's the Achilles heel that everybody, not just New York, but all the way through, I'm sure, America, that there's not a lot of people that have the time to volunteer. So I guess manpower would be something I would like to increase.
I've talked with some people who did ESSs, and they said there was a lot of confusion among the, between the electric company, the people that own it, the people that built it, the people that maintain it, and the people that are there for information. Did you felt that even in, at least in this instance, that the communication among those different personalities was actually really good?
Right now, we knew the players. When they showed up, we had like that frontline manager gentleman that we had met the night before, and then we saw him there. When the gentleman from the battery company, he introduced himself. When the president of the company that the power company that owns the facility, he introduced himself. Like, most of them were wearing something that identified what company they were from. So we were very fortunate in knowing who the players were and where they were, to even include the mayor. The mayor showed up and he had a shirt on that said mayor. I mean, it was perfect. Like you've seen those drills where everybody's wearing a different, reflective vest or something that says, this is what I am and this is what I am. Minus the reflective component, we had a very great laid out type situation to where we knew who the players were. And the police, again, they kept everybody out. There was a lot of people that wanted to come take pictures. There were a lot of people that wanted to come walking through. And those guys, they earn their money and they deserve raises because they were spot on.
Well, we're going to stop this episode here, and we're going to go ahead and we're going to hear all about I guess it's technically the third incident, but the second one in which you guys operated. And these are great. They definitely made the area news where we are. These ESSs are popping up all over the place. So stick on to the next one. Next week we'll release the episode that we're about to record and learn from the experience.